this video is actually a collaboration with a company called Uncle Chips. They reached out to me and asked if I wanted to collaborate with them, and they sent me some samples, and let me tell you, I'm floored by these samples. This is brilliant. What this is these are crumbled up shortbread cookies that you can use to decorate your cakes, your cookies, your cupcakes. You can add to your decorations. There's so many different ways that you can use this. So I brainstormed and I came up with, I'm going to try to do a sand art cake, and I'm going to use these as my sand. So I got my box in the mail, opened it up, and so nicely packed were all of these samples. And I also got fresh baked cookies. There's a phone number on here, there's an email address, and I'm gonna go ahead and attach their link in the description of this video so that you can contact them if you are interested in trying it. And what you get in here is all of these different colors of the crumbles. I'll just lay them out like this. Maybe we can see a little bit better. I mean, look at this box though. So nicely stuffed with all this, I'm guessing recycled paper. Anyway, that's really cool. And I already opened this one because I want to take a look. Is it crumbled up shortbread cookies? I mean, isn't this genius? Honestly, what a way to not waste product. It's crumbled up shortbread cookies, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to crumble it even finer so that it is more of a sand consistency for the design that I'm going to use it for. But I'm going to try to incorporate almost all of these colors if I can. So let's give this a shot and see how it goes, and I'm sure it's going to be great. So stick around. To make this into a sand-like consistency, I'm just using my little ninja tool here. You could use whatever you have. Any kind of a food processor is going to work just fine. Now it takes a little while to pulse this into the fine sand texture that I wanted, so just be patient and let it go. The technique I'm going to use to get the sand art on the cake is where you roll your cake in the product. So what you're going to need to do is make sure that you have a cardboard, a cake round on top that is narrower than the actual cake itself. And I'm just using some parchment paper and marking out the width and the height that I need to coat the entire cake. Now this is going to be not the side that's going to be attached to the cake. You can see those lines through the parchment paper. Since that's not an edible pen, I just wanted to turn it upside down so that there's not even a chance of that coming in contact with the cake. You could use an edible marker if you prefer. And then just go ahead and spoon your cookie crumbs onto this parchment in whatever pattern that you like. It doesn't really matter. Since sand art is a more regular shape, just kind of go with whatever looks pretty to you. And I'm just dusting off the excess because, a little overflow of one color into the next is fine, but I'm just trying to prevent that from happening too much. And do the same thing for all of your colors. Like I said before, you don't have to use all these different colors. I just wanted to use what they had sent me, so I went ahead and tried to use all of them. I'm just removing those little speckles, and then use another sheet of parchment paper with nothing on it just lay it on top and use your rolling pin, or you can even just use your hands just to try to level it out a little bit. And that accidentally, I ended up pushing a little too hard on my rolling pin and ended up separating the cookie crumbs a little bit. So I just went back in and filled that in where that happened. Now we're just gonna take our buttercreamed and chilled cake and just roll it right in these cookie crumbs. This is a really easy technique. You can do this with edible sugar crystals as well. There's a lot of different ways you can utilize this technique. But if you have your cake board on the top and the bottom, you can just roll it with your hands. If you prefer not to have put it in your refrigerator, you don't have to do that. I just tend to do that and then leave it out on the counter for maybe 5-10 minutes to let it get a little condensation, because it's a crusting buttercream, so that the cookie crumbs stick to it. Then just go ahead and set it back in your refrigerator to set up. And for my toppers, I'm just using some candy melts that are in the same color as the sand art. And just melting it in the microwave, 50% power for about 30-second increments until it gets all the way melted through. Then I'm just put it on the parchment paper, level it out a little bit, and I'm just sprinkling with some more of those cookie crumbs. I know this is a very bright cake, and I tend to do more neutral tones sometimes, but you know, it's good to change it up. And then use a circular biscuit or cookie cutter. Metal works good for this. And just heat it up with your blowtorch. If you don't have a blowtorch, you could just go ahead and probably dip it in a little hot water first, and then press down on your chocolate or candy melts. You could use chocolate for this too. I just use candy melts because they're already pre-colored. You don't have to worry about that. Let it set up and then press that hot cookie or biscuit cutter into it. Very easy, quick cake topper. Now, once you take your cake out of your refrigerator and it has set up, then go ahead and just take that cake board off of the top and fill in with buttercream on the top. And then you're gonna go in with that top color, that top yellow. Make sure that you leave enough of your top color or whatever you're using to fill in the top. And I'm just using my fingers to kind of coax it around that upper edge. This is where I did kind of struggle with it a little bit, but you'll see I finally decided, hey, I'm doing this a little harder than it needs to be. So I went back in and I got a plexiglass disc and I just turned it upside down. And you'll see me doing that in a minute here. And you'll see that this is a lot easier. I'm just spooning it around the edge and then brushing it up with a pastry brush. You could use a fan brush. You can even use like I ended up using the offset spatula. That worked really well. Just make sure that you have coated the top first before you do that. And the weight of the cake itself is going to flatten out that top. And then I just used my fondant smoother just to kind of I was trying to go for a crisper edge around that upper corner, which worked a little bit, but I did have to go back in and fine tune it. And then I set it in the freezer for about 10 minutes before I remove that top piece, just to prevent it from sticking. You could put a piece of parchment on top of your disc there before you put it on top of the cake, and that would prevent it from sticking too. And then I'm just using a little palette knife there, a sharp palette knife, to kind of cut into the cake where I want those toppers to go. And some of them I did cut a little section off of the bottom just to get them to have different varying heights. Like this one on the bottom, I didn't want to have a full circle there, so I just cut off some of the bottom. And I did use buttercream to attach them to the crumbles, but I did find that if you go ahead and remove some of those crumbs right underneath where you're trying to get a piece attached to the side, the buttercream is going to stick to the buttercream better. Just a little FYI. So there you go, guys. I hope you like it. This bright colored sand art cake made with cookie crumbles. And remember, there will be a link down below on where you can purchase these for yourself. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to Check out my other social media. I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.